Please let us know that, Max Boss Max.
Okay, that's a future segment right there. We'll do learning more about Mike.
Learning more about stranger dads.
We'll do that. All right.
You guys have to hear about my dad all the time. I might as well hear about some of your dads. Bam! What up, Chris Simms, Ahmed Fareed? How you doing, dude?
I like that idea.
I think so, too.
We should just learn about the homies' dads.
I agree. I mean, first off, we should probably start with yours. So,
My
I mean,
dad.
who gives a shit about Big Phil? I mean, every week do we have to hear from that guy?
Right.
By the way, we're not going to hear from him today. That's why I could talk like this. But I still think it would be good. I mean, I really think it would be fun. I'd like to meet your dad. I'd like to hear his take on some football things.
My dad, former football coach. He was my football coach in high school. Ran the wing tee offense. Evolved the offense, though, into a more shotgun passing offense.
Okay.
So he was old school, new age.
Right.
Retired now.
Okay, so he's
Look at him
able to evolve. That's good. Listen, I'm always down to hear that, what do I want to say? How a ex-coach, high school coach, whatever, is looking at the game now, and I would love to hear some of his takes and maybe prove him wrong.
Because I imagine for him there are some things as a high school coach you would love to do.
Yeah.
And some things that you can't. It'd be a disaster.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's just
sure.
like, sometimes punting is a disaster.
Well, it's a
in high
different
school.
game. You're right. You'd have to take things into account. You're right. Punting, you might be like, it might not be worth it. Let's just go for
let's
it.
not do it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. I'll run it by him, see if he's up for
Other
it.
weird thing that happened to me on the last podcast.
Yeah.
So I got done with the podcast. Yeah, this is a too. I don't even know. We're going to see if this makes it through the cut. I think I sprained a testicle last podcast. No joke. I don't know what it was. I got done, and I've had something in that region bothering me.
Well, you should
It's
get that
better
checked
now.
out.
Well, I know, but it's got a lot better. I was really worried about it the first day.
Okay.
But I don't know if I pulled a groin muscle or what I did.
Well, you didn't stand up at all during the pod.
No.
So it wasn't from any movement.
Well, unless I sat on weird.
That's
how
what
that
I'm
can,
thinking.
Yeah, right.
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor.
I know.
But
We know.
What I would guess for
Yeah.
that, and I think you should take
Get
it
it checked
seriously,
out. Well,
right?
if it's not if it's gotten so much better to where I barely feel anything today.
Good.
So I was kind of waiting to see how
Could
it
be
felt.
inflammation.
Yeah.
It could be a little inflammation
Right.
there. Some of those tubes get inflamed.
I think that's what happened. I might have
Sometimes take
pulled a
ibuprofen,
tube or something.
Take ibuprofen.
Yeah.
But it could be just from sitting.
Yeah,
Right.
like sitting weird.
Bad
So you've had
position.
this happen before?
Yes, I
Okay.
have. I have.
Okay, good.
And I did. And I went to the doctor for it, and they said everything's fine. Take some ibuprofen, stuff can get inflamed down
Right.
there.
I
Yeah.
mean, I hit 40 and my testicles get sprained. What the is going on?
Same time for me. It was like earlier this year.
Damn. And
Why
you
does
know, my
that
wife's
happen?
looking up all these crazy things online because I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And she sees at first, like what you said, you could sit wrong, and if you're wearing pants and whatever, things can happen the wrong
Right.
way. But then she's starting to make me worry where she's like, it also says, if you've been partying too hard and doing things like that, all of a sudden, some of those tubes can get knotted up. And I was like, well, I did have a hard partying weekend, being my 40th weekend. And I started to think oh no, did something happen? But I'm okay. So just to let everybody know, I'm off the IR. I'm ready to go.
So this comes from Hobbit2343, who's a loyal viewer.
Love
She
Hobbit.
goes, never in my years watching NFL has a program began with earwax. And so now we've had that show,
We've
which
won
was
up
previously, and now we've talked about possible inflammation of the testicles.
Yes, we have. Thank you, Hobbit. 23, what is that? 94?
Hobbit 2343.
43, 2343. Yes, thank you for being a loyal listener.
Okay, so we could talk about this a little bit later on in the pod if we feel like it. But we also have a lot of things to get to because we did your AFC win totals last time.
Yep.
Over under.
Over.
Not your win totals.
You love win totals.
Well, that scares you because then you're afraid that people are going to add them up and they're not going to add up
Yes.
correctly. Although they're even doing that with over-under. So we'll get to that. They're checking us on that. So we'll do that for the NFC this time.
Cool.
But we got a lot of good running back news off the top here.
Holy
So
crap.
let's go through that. We got some news on Leonard Fournette, obviously. Joe Mixon extension, Alvin Kamara, maybe that's coming for him. All these 2017 running backs in the NFL. Let's start with Leonard Fournette. It was a surprise move when he was just straight up cut, we thought. We were like, how could they not trade for him?
Right.
The team didn't want to give up a sixth-round pick for him. They didn't. He passed through waivers, and so that was even more surprising.
Yeah, it was to me.
Now he's going to the Bucs, 1 year, $3.5 million deal. What do you think?
I mean, I love it from the Bucs standpoint. Listen, I'm pro Leonard Fournette. I think he's a lot better than what people want to give him credit for.
So why did no one want him?
Well, I think they were doing their due diligence there for a little bit, plus the price tag. But the one thing I learned over the last few days, and I knew, he had some issues, but I guess he's a little bit more of a headache than I gave him credit for, I guess. So that was part of it. And I know Florio had reported yesterday that he knew a lot of teams were kind of doing their investigating into Leonard Fournette. And that's what I was led to believe, really last night when I talked to 2 different people in the NFL where they were like, yeah, he's a headache. We thought about it, but he's a headache. So I think that was part of the issue.
I believe, they think that, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
But it almost doesn't even matter at that point. If that reputation is out there, and if that's the kind of the thought about him,
right.
It's like it doesn't matter if it's 100% true all the time.
No,
the
perception
situation
you're
in
right.
Jacksonville, yeah.
Right, perception becomes reality
100%.
at a lot of the times in the NFL. And then especially, hey, listen, a lot of the teams, you heard them say, I'm content with our running backs. We like this. So a lot of those teams are going to go, okay, yeah, we might see the talent, but we've heard some things in the locker room. I don't want to risk that. Mm-hmm. Either way, Tampa had a real need at the position, in my opinion. Ronald Jones, listen, I've seen him in person when he was on USC and he went to Notre Dame. There's a lot to like. I certainly think he could be a successful NFL running back. I think Leonard Fournette is special, though. I do. And I think he's got a special skill set. He's very rare as far as size, speed combination is concerned. And I know Bruce Arians came out today and kind of said it's Ronald Jones' job. I understand that.
He said that Leonard Fournette is the one that has to carve out his role in the backfield.
Sure, I think that's true. I think that's real. They're not going to just give Leonard Fournette. He hasn't earned that to where it's just like, oh, you're Tom Brady, come in here and you're the guy. No, listen, I think they like Ronald Jones. They drafted him, so there's something there first off. He's put in the work this offseason in training camp. They understand Leonard Fournette's going to have to come in there, learn some things. So it's going to be about how quickly Leonard Fournette can pick up the offense. Right. How quickly can Tom Brady come to terms with, oh, I trust him on second down and 2nd and 12, and he's in the backfield. He'll know what to do. If the defense throws a crazy blitz at us, he gets blitz pickup. Those are all things where he's going to have to earn his role from there. But I just think if he gets all that down, I just think it's going to be an incredible combo again. And I don't want to say like Kansas City with, well, a little bit like this. Just it's similar to me this way. Kansas City, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce down the field. Oh, and now we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire underneath. Oh, you want to play deep coverages? Oh, here's it. Well, now it's going to be, hey, we know Bruce Arians. It's going to be aggressive throws down the field. O.J. Howard, Mike Evans, aggressive. Chris Godwin. Oh, you want to start to play coverage? Oh, you better watch about this freak freight train coming through the hole right now if you want to play coverage. So I think that's where he's going to put defenses in a bind a little bit, and, we'll see where he goes. But I would think this is one of those things that straightens Leonard Fournette's career out and motivates him. And he's going to know he's going to have to be on his P's and Q's when you're going into a place like this. The microscope is on Tampa. Tom Brady. You better be on your details and things like that, or this could quickly become, whoa, he is a headache. Tom Brady didn't trust him. Bruce Arians, who's willing to deal with personalities, and his ass will be out of the league if he doesn't make this situation at least somewhat right.
Yeah.
I do. I love the talent of the player, and I think it's going to be a nice addition to the football team.
So you kind of answered it already. This comes from D-Craw90. Do you think the Bucs will use him as a primary back or do a timeshare? So as the season goes on, how do you think it will evolve towards the end of the season?
I had pictured evolving Leonard Fournette's the guy. I do, yeah. And again, I know the analytics committee, that part of the world, they don't love Leonard Fournette. Again, having seen Leonard Fournette in person and having seen some of the runs he has made when there's a hole there and there's yards to actually be had, he can do a lot with it. He can do things that really only the elite running backs in football can do, in my opinion. I think too much right now, people are bagging on him. And again, we're boiling it down to one guy a little bit. Like, oh, look at what he did in Jacksonville. I don't know. Look what he did in Jacksonville. He had 2,000-yard seasons out of 3 seasons with nothing special around him on the offensive side of the ball. Last year, there was quarterback issues. Nobody was going into the games going, we got to stop Gardner Minshew. The game went into, we need to stop Leonard Fournette.
He's never had that, right?
No.
It's always been the case.
Right. It was even worse his rookie year with Blake Bortles and company. That's what they did. It was going to be pound the rock, defense, get turnovers, pound the rock. one play action pass with Blake Bortles. Please, can he hit this one throw, this one time? Oh, he did. Wow, we're going to go down and score a drive. We're going to score this drive.
Blake does not listen to this podcast.
Well,
There's
of
no
course
way,
he doesn't.
Right? There's no way.
No, I mean, he's probably got a picture of me on his wall and shooting bullets at it or something. But
so, yeah, you're excited.
I am
excited about what he can do
The
there.
potential of it, I am excited. I think the player is really talented, and I think we're getting a little, like I said, support matters. I don't care who you are. You need a team around you to help you out, and he didn't have necessarily a real good offensive line or a passing attack that, took the pressure off of him to a degree.
Yep. This is almost like a New England Patriots deal. It's like you take a guy who's low value, you get him for a year, whatever happens, happens. You're no risk.
I would thought that might be one of the teams.
You thought he might go to New England.
I did. I thought that was a legit chance because of what you're saying. They can rely, they can err on, this guy's got a little bit of a shaky locker room, MO. Well, not up here he won't. Because we'll ship his ass out in a hurry. And, I thought they might dabble with that when, you hear Sony Michel. I mean, he's been injured his whole career. Lamar Miller, they just signed him, and he's coming off a pretty serious injury last year. Damian Harris broke something on his hand. So I thought there might be a spot for him up there, but obviously that didn't happen.
There were at times whispers about Joe Mixon's character off the field, some of the stuff that's happened with him, but the Cincinnati Bengals just rewarded him with a 4-year extension worth $48 million. He is locked up. He tweeted out a hype video featuring the voice of none other than the man to my left, Chris Simms.
I mean, I'm honored. No joke. I get excited to see that stuff.
Because you said he was a top 5 running back.
I think
no
so.
doubt.
I do.
Was that your quote in there? Was that your direct
quote?
quote?
I think it was. No
about
doubt.
That.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, here we go. It's 4.1 yards per, or 4.2 yards career average, right? Mm-hmm. It's nothing special.
Right.
His, career average yards rushing are probably right there in Leonard Fournetteville. But you know why? Let's think about it. Oh, a shit offensive line? Oh, is that why he doesn't average more than 4 yards a carry? I look at Leonard Fournette at 4 yards a carry and Joe Mixon at 2.2 yards a carry and go, it's f***ing amazing that they get that many yards per carry with no passing game or no blocking up front.
Yeah.
They're freaks of nature. And Joe Mixon is a freak of nature. Another guy that, again, I don't think the uniform does him service.
Well, let's not go down the uniform
Well,
path
I know,
here
but I'm just saying how he looks in the uniform, the size of the human being.
Sure.
For me, he is extremely talented, and I think you're going to continue to see that even more this year because of Joe Burrow, second year in the Zach Taylor offense. Joe Mixon can catch the football, too. I mean, he was at Oklahoma. They don't run the ball that much. They throw it every play. So he can catch the ball. And I think that's where he's going to make another huge step this year. Plus, he's got more weapons around him, too, and the offensive line a little bit better. Yeah, I think he's one of the 5 best running backs in football. Me and Rodney Harrison every week sit there and go, man, Joe Mixon. I mean, he's amazing. He is, Alvin Kamara is going to end up getting more money than Joe Mixon on this contract. Purely on stats. He's not as good as Joe Mixon. No, not for me. I'm sorry. Joe Mixon is special. I mean, Alvin Kamara's had the great opportunity. And again, I love Alvin Kamara before the whole world comes at me with hate.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a really awesome player. Anybody listens to me, what I was saying about him in the draft when he was coming out 3 years ago, I was telling people then, I think he's a first-round type running back. All right, but either way, you put Joe, he's had the benefit of having Breeze, having one of the 3-4 best offensive lines in football every year, having a Michael Thomas that the team has to worry about, let alone nobody's better at designing cool pass plays for the running back than Sean Payton. He leads the universe in that. And, so the stats, the fact that he was drafted there, the optics of the situation are not going to allow Alvin Kamara to sign for less money than Joe Mixon, even though I believe if you ask 20 people in football who's a better player, I think the majority would go with Joe Mixon.
But what if the Saints think that too? What if the Saints know, like, he's not quite worth it, and we can't sacrifice?
I think they know that. I think that's why they're pushing back right now a little.
Maybe trade. You know, there's been the trade rumors out there as well with him.
They think he's a hell of a football player.
Sure.
I know that. I do know that.
And he fits their system, like you mentioned.
And he's a great system fit. No doubt about that. Exactly right. So the overall success of their team, yeah, a lot of it is predicated on, one, he's talented and a really good player, and then two, there's a niche for him within the scheme that's really important to the overall scheme and the overall success of the football team. So that's where he's really important. Plus, he's always going to have good fantasy numbers. Plus, the Saints win. So then, you know, I think, of course, the Saints fan base is like, we can't not have Alvin Kamara. This is what happens when you draft a good player and then put statistics behind him. Mm-hmm. You're almost like no chance of, like, I have to sign him to the second contract. So, you know, I've heard Alvin Kamara was asking for Christian McCaffrey money. There's no way he's going to get that. He's not as good as Christian McCaffrey, and everything is based off of Christian McCaffrey in Carolina. Yeah. He is the offense. So, you know, that from that standpoint, no.
That's what, $16 million a year?
$16 million a year.
Joe was 12.
I had heard that he was offered a little more than Joe Mixon, and that's where I would go, just take it. You know, take it. Now, the weird thing about the whole running back conversation right now is David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell were given these weird contracts, and they're making $13 million plus, and they've done shit in 2 years, right? So that's where it's weird. I'm sure he's looking at it like that going, wait, I'm better than David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell. Mm-hmm. And what the team is going to have to say is, listen, the Jets and the Cardinals were stupid, and they did stupid contracts. Derrick Henry, who's arguably the best running back in the game right now, you know, in that conversation, he just signed for $12.5 million. Yeah. And he led the NFL in the rushing for the second year in a row, right? It's the second year in a row? Or he's up there. It's right there, top one or two. But I think that's kind of where he lies to me, is Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, 12.5 million. Make
seems
a little
fair.
Yeah, I think that's about where it is, and I hope that's what happens for the Saints, because I love watching them play, and I like Kamara and what he does.
Because there's the storyline out there in the narrative, and it's got truth to it, is that we can find another young running back in the draft. We see it every year. It's like, what's the lifespan of a running back? 4 years, we'll replace you. Now, Alvin Kamara can say, you can't really replace me totally. There aren't that many people that do what I do necessarily, and they're a different skill set. And so I think both sides probably have a pretty good argument. Hopefully they come together. It sounds like they're going to come together.
They do.
I would be shocked if they didn't come to a deal week one. Do you agree?
I would agree. I think you're going to hear something done here in the next 3-4 days. I'd be shocked if it wasn't done here by Labor Day. You know, Labor Day on Monday. That would, because then it's going to become a distraction going into the preparation for the Bucs game. So I'm with you, and I think what you just said there is very real. He has leverage because of his importance to the team, and he's a really good player, and there's importance to the scheme that way too. But also, Sean Payton, again, you go through all his history. All his running backs have gotten off. All of them. Pierre Thomas, Reggie Bush, Darren Sproles, Mark Ingram. You know, he's a master at finding mismatches and ways to, you know, expose his zone coverage with little ways to get the running back to sit right in that hole, and bam, they're 7-8 yards. So they'll get it done, though.
Mike Arch 22 says, think you'll be on the hype video when the Bengals rebrand. So when they do the rebrand, when that finally happens,
I better be. I'm leading the charge. How could I not be?
You may have to be working for the Bengals for that to happen.
No, I
you
don't
actually
even think
might
that's
have to be an
happen.
employee of the team.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up this conversation, let's go through so this is basically a conversation on the 2017 running backs who were taken. First pick in that draft, for running backs concerned at least, fourth overall was Leonard Fournette. 8th was Christian McCaffrey. 41st, so second round, Dalvin Cook. Second round, Joe Mixon, 48th overall. And 67th overall in the third round was Alvin Kamara. Kareem Hunt was after that. James Conner. There's some good running backs in there.
Tariq Cohen. It's unreal.
Marlon Mack, Aaron Jones in the 5th round.
Holy crap.
Chris Carson in the 7th round.
That's insane.
Stacked.
Insane.
So who would you take now? Would you take Christian first out of all those right now?
Yes, I would. McCaffrey's first to me. I'm taking Joe Mixon second.
Okay.
Yeah. He's second.
Cook third or Kamara third?
Listen, this is to me a lot closer than maybe a lot of people realize. And listen, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong or whatever. Let's just flush this out.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know here. This is close. Dalvin Cook's only had 1 year of production, right? It's been 1 year. It's last year. That's all there is to look at it. So we can't always be just recent biasy where we're just like, oh, he was good. He's the best one out of them.
Yeah.
I guess if you made me go right now, I think I'd go Alvin Kamara, Leonard Fournette, and then Dalvin Cook. Is that?
Okay.
I think so. Wow. I think I'd go McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, to me, in a close one, closer than I guess most would put it, between Leonard Fournette and him. Mm-hmm. And then I would go Dalvin Cook. I'd like to see one more year of Dalvin Cook before I throw him out there. And I understand there's questions about Leonard Fournette, too, and all of that. But, as we can tell, I'm a little bit more bullish on Leonard Fournette, I guess, than most people.
That's crazy when you think about the fact that Alvin Kamara could just, in a day or two get $13 million, and Leonard Fournette just got $3.5 million for 1 year.
Yeah. Well, when you, I guess, act like a jerk in the locker room, and then your offense isn't successful.
Yeah.
That's the optics of the situation right now. So it is. But, Leonard Fournette can easily be one of those guys, like, where we come out of this year and go, oh, he was a top 4 in rushing in football, and it was an unbelievable year, and he's going to command $11 million price tag or $12 million price tag next year. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked by that.
And everyone will go, I knew he was still good. And you go, no, you did. I was the only one saying that. We'll play the tape back.
But I do think it's another great reference in, see, here's a guy cleared waivers. I get that.
Yeah.
But he was talented enough here to where a team was going to take him, right? I mean, it only lasted 1 day off of waivers.
Yep.
And just, again, that's where I'd like to accentuate the Earl Thomas, because I got a lot of pushback on social media last week with my Earl Thomas stuff. And, I'd like to at all of you people that were, like, really being somewhat, like, disrespectful and harsh about it and go, if Earl Thomas was a top 5 or top 10 safety, he would be on a team right now. Yeah, he's done a bit of things that are a pain in the ass. But he's been good if he's that good, that what he's done off the field wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. So that's where I think that says a lot too.
Follow the talent. Follow the talent. It'll usually end up on a roster somewhere, right?
Well, it's a case of Leonard Fournette being a top 5 pick, and he gets almost downgraded because that he's supposed to be the best running back in football. He's the 4th pick of the draft. What the fuck?
If you don't meet that expectation, then you feel like you're a bust.
Right. And then Earl Thomas, who set the expectation so high for so long and was so awesome for so long, everybody's like, he's Earl Thomas. He's still awesome. And I just want to go, no, he's 30 or 31, and it's up there in years, and he's not awesome anymore. Right. And that's where the disconnect comes in sometimes.
Right. That is running back talk on Chris Simms Unbuttoned here on this Thursday. So now we're going to get into the win totals. So we did the
over-unders.
All right, well, yeah, but you give the win total, and then you say if it's over or under. So this is the AFC. If you're watching on YouTube, Kristen just pulled it up right now. There were the overs and unders, and you ended up with
10 and 6?
10 overs and 6 unders. And Ciro Mido says, this is mathematically impossible.
Is it?
That's what I wondered, too.
I don't know. I mean, if I'm saying under, do you know how far under I'm going or how far over I'm going?
You could be saying the Bengals and the Jaguars will win 0 games, which would balance it all out. Then you got to have a whole lot more overs. So Pete did some research.
Yeah, what did he say?
He really wanted to get into the numbers here. So you picked 8 AFC teams to have winning records. Number of AFC teams with winning records the last few seasons.
Yeah.
In 2019, last year, it was 6. 2018, it was 8. 2017, 8. 2016, 8. 2015, 7. So you're right there.
So I'm not crazy there.
You're not crazy.
Okay.
And maybe you're going to go more negative on the NFC teams here.
I could, which would, of course, affect win totals there. Yeah,
which would affect win totals over in the AFC.
Right.
Now do you feel pressure to go negative on the NFC?
No, I don't. But I wrote a few more notes with the NFC this time around to have a few more concise thoughts.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. So we'll see where we go here.
All right, so let's start with the NFC East. And all of these over-under win totals are brought to us by PointsBet. That's the new official sports betting partner of NBC Sports.
Okay.
Hello there, PointsBet.
What's up?
So we got official numbers now. We can say where they're from and not be scared. PointsBet is where these come from. We'll start with the NFC East. We'll start with the Eagles. They were 9-7 last year, finished strong. They won their last 4 games to take the division. You still got Carson Wentz there. You added Darius Slay on the defensive side. They had 9 wins last year, over under 9.5 this year.
Ooh. Over under 9.5. Man, that's a good one. Holy crap. Okay, so here's how I break it down a little bit with the Eagles. I mean, first off, I do think there's a lot to like. I'm a little concerned with the injuries right now, all right, with the offensive line. I mean, here we go again. They're mixing and matching that. Alshon Jeffrey's not back yet. Jalen Reagor's he's banged up. Yep. Is he going to be ready for week 1? Miles Sanders has a lower body injury. So I'm a little worried about that. And this is a team that seems to be dealing with this for the last few years. That bothers me. Now, I think there's 2 things about their schedule that jump out to me. There's 2 different brutal stretches, in my opinion. Weeks 4 through 6, weeks 4 through 6, when they got to go to at the 49ers, at the Steelers, and then Baltimore at home. Yeah. I go, whoa, that's a pretty tough stretch. And then when you look at weeks 11 through 14, where we're talking about playoff seeding or, will they get in the playoffs? And you go at the Browns, Seahawks, at the Packers, Saints. Sure. At the Cardinals, which I know they're better than the Cardinals, but that ain't going to be no cupcake with Kyler Murray in that offense. And then the next week have at the Dallas Cowboys. I look at that and go, wow, that is a pretty serious stretch of football for them. 9.5, huh?
9.5.
I really look at them as a team that I don't think is going to be a whole lot better than that. Like, what I wrote down was 9-7, 10-6, 8-8. That's really what I got down to. And I think more than that, I think I'm going to go with the 9-7 variety right now. So that's going to be an under. I'm going to go with an under here. I mean, that's a tough one.
It's the skill guys that scare you, right?
The skill
and if
guys
there's injuries on the offensive line, you love Carson Wentz.
Right.
This is not an indictment on him as a
Not
quarterback
at all. I love
because
him.
you like him.
Yeah.
And you think if surrounded by better players, this would be an easy playoff team.
Yeah, easy playoff team. I think that 9-7, you still get they went in the playoffs last year. Now we got an extra seed this year too, so that could go. But yeah, I mean, whether they go 9-7 or 10-6, I think is all going to be predicated on of course, health. And I don't want to say that as to be like a scapegoat, but really, do they come in those 2 or 3 coin flip games that you have every year? Did they come out on top? And I think that's really where I lie with it. This is a tough one, certainly. And the fact that they're playing 2 tough divisions. Yeah. The AFC North and the NFC West this year for these NFC's teams. And that's where I look at it tough. So,
and the fact that
I'm going to go under.
The Giants might be better. You're going under because the Giants might be better. Cowboys, you think, might have a better record.
I do.
Washington could be
I think they're going to be better, right. So I think they're going to be better, no doubt about it. Like, if the Eagles are playing the way they were playing down the stretch, and how they beat the Giants last year, I don't think they're going to pull those out this year. But we'll see. I mean, I'm really, the Eagles are a team I'm a little stuck with. I don't know what to quite think of them. But yes, Brandon Brooks being hurt, now Andre Dillard, Jason Peters at right guard, who's going to be the left tackle? That concerns me.
Too many injuries. Yeah. I'll go with you. I'll go under there.
You're going to go under?
We agree.
Okay.
We go under. So that's a good start if you wanted to go under on the NFC. You got under on the Eagles. But I have a feeling you're going to go over on this next team.
Probably.
Cowboys were 8-8 last year. Jason Garrett is gone. Mike McCarthy is there, who went 125-77 in his 13 seasons with Green Bay. Won a Super Bowl, so has had a lot of success here as the head coach. That offense was awesome last year. Defense, injuries always a concern on that side of the ball, but they weren't too bad. They're over-under. They were 8-8 last year. They're over-under 9.5.
Damn, so it's the same. Man.
Same as the Eagles, yep.
Well, I'm going over, just so we can get that. I mean, I look at them as being a 10-6, 11-5 football team. Clearly, I do. And then maybe, hey, listen, like we talked about. And what a lot of this comes down to is those 2 or 3 games, do you win at the end or do you lose at the end? That can be the difference between you going 10-6 or 12-4. Or 9-7, or 11-5. You know what I mean? So, but I think the thing I look at the Cowboys is, we know the team's talented. Yep. I think the new coaches are worth a win or 2 in themselves. I think Mike McCarthy, as you've heard me say, will have more complementary game plans. The defense is going to be more game-to-game, game plan specific with Mike Nolan, so you're not going to always know what you're getting from them. I love all that. You got CeeDee Lamb. Are you f***ing kidding me in the top 20 picks? That's insane. A team that didn't need him, but now they got him. Their second-round pick I really liked. I want to make sure I hit everybody. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody in free agency or anything like that. But
you got Everson Griffin on the defensive side,
which was huge for them. Huge. I would say that was probably the last thing they needed for their roster was just go, they need another guy on the edge there. And then maybe safety, that other safety, and that's why you hear Earl Thomas. I mean, after that, I don't look at a whole lot of weak spots of this football team.
What about running the ball, though? I know Zeke last year, and I looked up this one stat, had a career low 4 rushes for 20-plus yards last year. Didn't have that explosion that we've seen in the past.
No.
They were elite in the passing game. They had a great offense. They led the NFL in yards per game. Running the ball wasn't as explosive.
No. I mean, that's where I want to push back with people with the Leonard Fournette conversation. I want to go, wait, here's Ezekiel Elliott with, the second or third best offensive line in football? And he got 4.5 yards per carry and had an awesome quarterback and 2 awesome receivers? And yet Fournette, who has 4.3 yards per carry, with none of that around him, we don't give him credit. And it wasn't as good a year as what it should be for Ezekiel Elliott. You heard me say that a lot of times. I think there were some holes where I go, damn, I think if Leonard Fournette had that hole, it would have been a 60-yard touchdown. And instead it was a 20-yard gain from Ezekiel Elliott. So I need to see him capitalize on more that was there to be had. I think this is the biggest thing that jumps out to me, though, with them. I don't look at their schedule and ever look at any one stretch to be brutal. Where I just look at, again, I know it's tough, but I'm not sure there's a brutal stretch that I look at, like we'll talk about with some of these other teams where I go, whoa, think about this. They're on the road for 4 to 6 games against these teams. I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
No.
If you think there's a stretch there that looks, hey, there's 2 out of 3 games. Oh, the Ravens at the Bengals and then the 49ers, week 13. But it's not 3 games. It's not a stretch. You know what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
So I never see more than maybe back-to-back weeks of me going, okay, it's questionable whether Dallas is definitely the best team on the field today. The Rams, hey, that'll be an interesting one. Falcons, that might be their toughest stretch, is really
right off the bat.
Because the Falcons are going to be raring to go. And they're going to try to, we know the Seahawks are going to be good. And then you got the Browns. And the Browns, of course, are talented as hell. So I think that's probably the stretch I look at to go, that's the most brutal. But I just think there's too many positives with this Cowboys team. I think they're going to win the NFC East this year.
I'm agreeing with you. Over for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, you're right. That schedule doesn't. You have breaks.
It just doesn't.
You
there's
have
not.
breaks.
We'll talk about some other teams here
down.
where I'm going to go, whoa, this team has 6 games in a row where I go, holy crap.
So I go over there too. So we've agreed on the first 2. I'm going to try to disagree on this next one, though.
Okay.
The New York Giants. A lot of hope for the New York Giants this year on a team that many people think will be improved. You have Joe Judge, the 38-year-old, first year as a head coach coming over from New England. Daniel Jones, can he make the next step? Defense was not good last year. Gave up the 3rd most points per game. They won 4 last year. And their win totals, Chris, the last 3 seasons, 3, 5, and then last year 4. Their over-under is 6.5. So I am going to go first here, and I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under for the Giants.
I'm going under too.
You are?
Yeah, I am. I wrote down 6-10, 5-11, 7-9. So 7-9 was like, okay, I went through the schedule and I looked at it and went, this is like best case scenario, 7-9. And I don't think I really expect best case scenario to happen in a year like this. New coaching staff. Listen, this isn't Mike McCarthy who's been a head coach. It's the guy who's going to be a first-time head coach to what you're saying. And now it's a new system with a second-year quarterback who's in his second system. And a Saquon Barkley who's a third-year running back in his second system. So to me, the way this year's set up with the pandemic and everything, it's not in their favor from that standpoint. I think that's the thing. And then the other thing I'll say for a team that just goes through all of that, they got a tough start of the schedule. Here we go. Steelers at home. I mean, we're all looking at the Steelers going, watch out for them this year. At Chicago, again, I'm not saying Chicago's significantly better, but to go to Chicago with that defense, that's not going to be easy. Of course, the 49ers, and then at the Rams. I know the Rams aren't going to be I don't know how awesome they're going to be. But you got to go out to LA, and then you got to go out to Dallas. So when I look at those first 5 games, I look at it and go, it's very realistic that the Giants could start off 1-4. Right. I mean, realistically, it could be realistically they're 0-5. It really can. To me, the way it's set up is they got size. The offensive line should be better. The defensive line is big and physical. Pass rushers, okay. Yeah. I still got questions about the secondary. I know they signed James Bradbury, but they've lost other guys.
That's what Pete is a noted Giants fan.
Right.
And he is in my ear. He's freaking out. He agrees.
Yeah.
He thinks the secondary is shaky.
Shaky.
Already decimated.
No great pass rusher.
DeAndre Baker arrest. Sam Beal opting out.
Right.
Xavier McKinney injured.
There you go. Right. So that to me, and who were they talking about signing at safety? Wasn't there somebody that was out there the other day that I heard, Pete, with the Giants? I'm blanking on who I heard that. But I mean, yeah, they're shaky there.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, they've improved the linebacker position and all that, but I just don't know if the defense is going to be markedly better to where I go, oh, this team will be better. No, I think they're implementing a new system too. They're going to be trying to play that New England scheme. So I just think when all of that lines up, I just look at it and go, I feel bad for my G-men. Oh, Logan Ryan, which is a great pick because he can do like a great signing. He can do everything. So that makes sense.
So Giants fans, okay, if you tell them you're going to have a bad year, that's one thing. They want to know that at least is Daniel Jones going to take the next step?
I think
so.
He
can take another step forward?
I do.
Because that would be a half win if they can do that.
Really, if he did the same thing he did last year and then just didn't have the fumbles, I think everybody would go, fucking awesome year by Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I saw Dave Gettleman, he made a few quotes earlier in the week about, the guy did some special things last year. And he did some things like no rookie quarterbacks have ever done before, but the fumble narrative has overtaken all the positive things he's done. And I do think with the improved offensive line, hopefully Saquon stays healthy, Jason Garrett being there, and with Evan Ingram, Slayton at receiver, Golden Tate, and then Shepard.
Yep.
You sit there and go, okay, I know that's not like world beaters, but that's a pretty good group to where I think it's something to work with, and they'll be good by, committee there.
All right, they were 4-12 last year, over under 6.5. We're going under.
You look at the start of that schedule, and then you look at their last 4 weeks, 5 weeks too. Then you go at Seattle. Okay, you got the Arizona Cardinals, who they lost to last year, but then Cleveland, and then at Baltimore, and then the Cowboys too. Man, the start and end of their schedule is no joke.
They might not make it all the way through. They might just stop.
Just quit.
They go, you know what? We've had it. 2021 will be our year, like we're all saying. Here.
My poor G-men.
Last team in the NFC East.
Yeah.
We got the Washington football team.
Yes.
They were 3-13 last year. Ron Rivera comes in. They got Chase Young on the defensive side. They got a young quarterback in Dwayne Haskins. They hope both of them can take them into the next promised land for Washington football team football.
Yeah.
So they're over under though, Chris, after saying all that. 5.5.
Oh.
5.5.
5.5
after 3 wins last year.
Well, I wrote 5-11, 6-10, and 4-12. All right.
So you're right there.
And I underlined 4-12. So I'm more of the 4-12 and 5-11 crowd, but like positive for the future. Now, again, I think if we're going to be fair with Washington right now, my big thing is, and let me just pull up the complete roster while we're sitting here. My first concern, the defense has a chance to be real deal.
Okay.
Like real deal. Where I just look at that and go, ooh, I mean, if their offense can just have some threat of moving the ball and scoring some points, their defense might be able to win them.
You got Kendall Fuller back, who was traded for Alex Smith back in 2018.
Oh, yeah, right.
It all comes full circle.
That's hilarious.
Then you got Chase Young, obviously.
Yep, they got Sean Davis, who I loved out of Pittsburgh as a safety. That's going to help out.
Montez Sweat needs to kind of take a little bit of a step, right? He
Definitely.
wasn't all that awesome in year one.
Was solid in year one. But we know, between that, the defense, some improvements on the corner, and and then don't forget Reuben Foster's going to be back in the fold at linebacker this year. You look at that and I go, okay, and Landon Collins, the way he played last year and everything like that, I think there's a lot of things to like. Ronald Darby in free agency. So the defense is awesome. My point is this, Ahmed. Offense, first thing is I don't know who the running back's going to be, so that scares me a little bit. I don't know who's the guy we're going to be able to trust.
You don't believe in Adrian Peterson?
No, I don't.
People have lost a lot of money doubting Adrian Peterson.
I know.
In his career.
Well, in year 13, I'm going to bet against him. I'm just sorry. You know, not that he doesn't have value, but like, am I sitting here going to be shaking in my boots going, oh my gosh, Adrian Peterson's carrying the ball on the other team. We're in trouble.
So that was going to be my prop bet question here.
Yeah.
It was 35-year-old Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Had 898 yards last year.
It's insane.
In 15 games.
It's insane.
I looked up running backs in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
35 and older. And who had the most yards? Do you know who had the most yards?
At 35 and older?
35 and older.
Well, Frank Gore had 1,000 yards just a few years ago, right? And he's got to be.
Nope.
Nope, it wasn't him?
It wasn't
okay.
Frank Gore.
Hold on. 35 or older? Mm-hmm. Is he playing now?
Nope.
Old days?
Mid-80s.
Mid-80s.
In this division.
He played Washington. John Riggins.
Yep.
John Riggins, when he came back that year.
1,239 yards.
In 82?
35-year-old. 84.
84.
84.
Jeez, that's impressive.
Then a guy in the 60s, John Henry Johnson for Pittsburgh. And then you had Emmitt Smith with Arizona, had 937.
Ooh, crap.
2004. And then Marcus Allen in 95 had 890.
Damn.
So you don't think Adrian Peterson as a 35-year-old will catch any of those guys? You don't think he'll get to 890 this year?
A little bit's going to be predicated on the health of, like, where's Bryce Love at? Is he ready to contribute out of Stanford? Antonio Gibson, I know, has opened some eyes there, and he opened up my eyes, evaluating him in the draft out of Memphis a little bit. And it sounds like they're going to make him a running back. So I guess I just don't know if he's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And I certainly would like to think he wouldn't be the most dangerous guy if all's healthy in this running back. So, yeah, there's question marks there, I think is what we're getting at, okay? Then we could talk about, like, tight end position. You know, I know Logan Thomas seems to be making some noise out there as far as that, but there's nothing really proven there.
Yeah.
And then we go into wide receiver, and I sit there and go, okay, we got Terry McLaurin, who could be a superstar.
Yep.
Other guys with potential, but that's all it is to this point.
Right.
So there's nobody else, and that's really where my big problem with them is. I could see them being a pain in the butt and losing so many 17-13 games, 20-14 type football games, just because they're 2 or 3 playmakers short on offense from having a dangerous offense.
I'll go under as well. So we
Okay.
agreed all the way through the NFC East.
Bam.
Moving on to the NFC North.
Let's do it.
Start with the Green Bay Packers. Won 13 games last year. Second year for head coach Matt LaFleur. Offense was not very Aaron Rodgers-like. You're 15th in points per game last year, 18th in yards per play. So that wasn't great. Defense was middle of the pack, too, which is kind of crazy. They won 13 games.
It's amazing. It doesn't even match up. That's why it's like, I think that's part of the reason why you and I made comments like this is one of the more underwhelming 13-3 teams we've ever seen before.
So they're over-under this year all the way down to 8.5.
Whoa.
All the way down to 8.5. Yep.
Well, damn.
That's
Holy
low.
crap.
That's lower than I thought it would have been.
I agreed.
Much lower.
Damn.
So you were ready for it to be like 11
I
or
was afraid
10.5.
there's like 9.5 or 10
and
and 10, something there. Yes.
8.5.
8.5. Wow.
So what were the records you sketched out for?
I wrote 9-7, 10-6, 8-8 when I went through my little Chris Simms rundowns of how I think the schedule could go. Okay, hey, let's just talk about the schedule as it works out. They have a chance, start of the year, Minnesota, Detroit. Listen, I think those are winnable games, but they're division games. And, of course, people in the divisions are treated differently, studied differently. So they're a little scary there. But what really jumped out to me about their schedule was weeks 3 through 9 at the Saints, Falcons at home. Then it's a bye week, but then it's at Buccaneers, at Texans, Vikings, at 49ers. That is some stretch right there.
It's a tough one.
That really is. And the one thing always sticks out in my brain last year is, I do think that the Packers feasted on the week a little bit with how their schedules shook out last year. You know, really, when you look at their schedule last year.
I think we did look at it, right?
We did, right?
They beat the Vikings a couple times.
It was the only playoff team they beat.
Cowboys they beat, but they were not a
playoff team. And they beat the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes. So those were the only, the Vikings twice and the Chiefs were the only 2 playoff teams they beat. And I'd like to think that if Patrick Mahomes is playing, they don't win that game.
Yeah.
So I think that's where, you know, I think it'll be a different year. I do think their division is better too.
I think so too.
Right? This is a tough division for me because I don't think there's one team that like just significantly jumps out. I think Green Bay jumps out the most only because of the quarterback. Only because I just go, if he's playing any one of these 3 teams and it's a 7-point or less game, Green Bay is going to win as far as the division's concerned. Just the way I feel about it.
Yeah. And they're giving him a running, or they're trying to give him a running game. Aaron Jones was good last year.
Right.
A.J. Dillon coming in. I got a prop bet for you on this one.
Yeah.
Even before we've gotten to your over/under. 250 yards per game is what Aaron Rodgers had last year. Second fewest he's had in the 16-game season in his career.
Right.
Does he go over that or under that this year?
I think he's going to go over that.
So he'll throw for more yards per game.
I think he's going to be,
come back a year.
I would think between the motivation, another year in the offensive system, and I heard him say things like he studied himself. Matt LaFleur saying, we need to find more ways to get explosive plays. I think he'll push the envelope in the pass game a little bit more. And what you've heard me say, I think he needs to do that.
So it all leads to this. We've built up the drama enough. Pete notes they were 9-1 in games decided by 8 points or fewer last year.
That's what's scary. Aaron Rodgers is the only fucking scary thing about this. I mean,
but 8.5 is low.
I know.
Seems
I'm
low.
going to go over, but I'm going barely over. I'm going barely over. You know, it's like I do. I think they're a 9-7 team. That's why I wrote that first. I think they're a 9-7 football team. You know, again, you know, you got to play the AFC South this year. That's not going to be easy. Texans, Colts, and Titans. I think their division's better, you know, as we've talked about. And then they are playing the AFC South. And, of course, we know the AFC South and the NFC South are very damn good.
I want to disagree with you for the first time today.
Yeah.
But Aaron Rodgers
8.5
getting 9 wins seems like he can do that.
I agree.
Even in a bad year.
I agree.
Even if things are falling apart, seems like he can get 9 wins in a bad year.
Yeah. It's really – I don't know if I think they're a 9-7, 10-6 football team, but I think – they're really probably like a 7-9 football team that can go 9-7 or 10-6 because of Aaron Rodgers.
All right, I'll go over with you again there.
Okay.
Even though I'm getting really uncomfortable agreeing so many times.
I like it.
Vikings, who I know from doing the show with you, you're a little down on the Vikings. They had 10 wins last year. They had to make some moves. This is their window to win. They have determined that this is their time, but they have some salary cap issues. They had to trade Stephon Diggs. He's out of there. Kevin Stefanski goes to Cleveland, so Gary Kubiak taking over as the offensive coordinator. Defense, there's been a lot of turnover on the defensive side of the ball.
That's right.
So this is a roster that is big time in flux, still has some talent. 10 wins last year, over under, Chris, 8.5.
Oh, wow, they're right there with Green Bay, huh?
Well,
I can tell you I'm going under here right now.
Okay.
I'm going under. I think they're a 7-9, 8-8 football team. That's the way I look at it. The first thing I'm going to tell you is, holy tough start, Batman. You know, Green Bay at the Colts, Tennessee Titans at the Texans, Seattle Seahawks at Seattle, Atlanta Falcons at Green Bay. Everybody there made the playoffs except for the Falcons, and the Falcons ended the season on a 6-1 tear to end the season last year. And, of course, we know they have superstar talent in Atlanta. If they could stay healthy, watch the out. So when I look at that schedule with new pieces on defense, young guys at corner, all of those things, and everybody getting another year to digest the Gary Kubiak, what they want to do on offense, and of course, Stephon Diggs not being there and having that explosive element. Yeah, I think they're going to get off to a tough start. They'll battle. They're going to still be a pain in the butt to deal with. I just think it's a year where they're a little caught in the transition of their football team.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in the defensive side. And you think Mike Zimmer, defensive-minded guy, they can figure it out. They can get the right pieces in there. But, they just lost so much. I mean, they still have Eric Kendricks in the middle of that defense, but their top 3 corners from last year,
gone.
Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes,
Right.
Mackenzie Alexander, gone. Linval Joseph, Everson Griffin, gone. It just seems like, even with Yannick Ngakoue, if he comes in there, it's like, That's a lot of moving parts.
It's a lot of moving parts.
To meld into a year where it's going to be tough to meld these moving parts, I feel like.
Exactly right. I think that's exactly right. You know, and they signed Michael Pierce, and he opted out of COVID-19.
Yeah.
You know, so that hurts. It does. And that's why they went and traded and got Yannick Ngakoue, because I think he realized, whoa, I got 3 new corners in here. Whoa, my defensive line looks real freaking average. I need to get one more stud in here.
We better get to the quarterback fast.
Right. We got to get something else there. So, you know, hey, Jaleel Johnson, I think it's Jalen Holmes. They got a few other guys that have some potential as interior D linemen that got to show up for them. But yeah, and honestly, between the start, some of the things we just mentioned, and that they've been an every other year playoff team for like the last 6 years or so, this is the year they don't make it. And I'm just going to go when they don't make it.
All right, I'm going under 2.
Okay. Damn, you copycat.
Well, it's hard to argue with that there.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
But here we might have a disagreement here. I have a good feeling about this one. And I'll go first so you can copy me.
Please.
I did go first one time.
You did. I think you went twice actually so far.
So you've copied me a couple times.
Okay.
Chicago Bears, 8-8 last year. I mean, it wasn't that long ago they were 12-4. That was just the previous year.
No.
Seemed to be going in the wrong direction. They got a quarterback battle with Nick Foles, Mitchell Trubisky. Last year, that offense was not good. Worst in passing yards per play, second worst in yards per game. Offensive line took a step back. There's some turnover in the secondary, even though you still have Khalil Mack on that defensive side of the football. 8-8 last year. Their over-under is 7.5. I am taking the under on the Bears. I think this will be the year where it all falls apart and they got to just rebuild.
7-5?
7.5.
Whoa.
7.5 for the Bears.
Whoa.
Why would you think it was going to be?
I don't know. I thought it was a little low. I thought they might be 8 or 8.5 just right there with them. Yeah.
Why do you like them?
I don't know. The Bears to me are the hardest team to get a feel for a little bit. You know, I love their defense, to answer your question. Their defense is, to me, it's Super Bowl caliber. Like, it's truly a defense that if you just have a little offense to help out, they can almost win you games by themselves. And them getting Robert Quinn, I mean, that was big time for their football team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's dangerous.
You get Akeem Hicks back. He was hurt last year,
right.
So he'll help.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, last year, even without that, they were good. They had 18.6 points per game given up, tied for the best in the NFC.
Yeah, and an offense that couldn't stay on the field and was like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and that's when the dam broke a few times for the Chicago Bears. I think they're going to be better this year. I do think they're going to be better. You know, last year, well, listen, I don't know, they were 8-8 last year. I think they're going to be right around that again. I just don't know. I wish I had some preseason football to look at, like, just the quarterback situation. Or is Matt Nagy have a different approach? Because to me, those are the 2 biggest questions I have about the team. You know, is Matt Nagy, his creativity on the offensive side of the ball, what do they do? What is it? Remember last year, I guess it's kind of a Rolodex. Like, hey, let's call this play. Oh, let's call this play. I like it. But what's the rhyme or the reason for calling the play?
Yeah.
You know, McDaniels, Sean Payton, Shanahan, McVay, they have a rhyme or reason of why they're calling a play or they're setting up a certain play. And I don't always notice that with the Bears. You know, so that's where I'm really stuck with them. But I think I'm going to go over. I mean, again, I don't think this is going to be much over. If Matt Nagy in the run game can just be a little bit better, though, I mean, I wouldn't sit here and go, I'm shocked the Bears won the NFC North. You know, I wouldn't, because I just don't think the division's that great. No one team is that great. And like you said, it was only 2 years ago, and they were 12-4.
Yep. Yeah. So
it's a tough team to look at here.
If Nick Foles is the quarterback or Mitchell Trubisky is the quarterback, does that change your feeling on the team at all?
Yeah, I feel more confident in Nick Foles to start the year.
Okay.
I do. Yeah, I just, as a pure pocket passer, you know, doing things the right way, making big throws in the pocket, I think he's clearly better than Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah, I do. Trubisky has more talent, but can that translate into being a better quarterback? I don't know. We haven't seen that yet, and that's where I don't know. You know, and again, I have questions, too, if you want to, you know, the running back position. You know, I love Tariq Cohen, but he's not their everyday, like, bell cow guy.
Sure.
You know, I know they're excited about David Montgomery, which, again, is another one to me where back to the Leonard Fournette thing. He averages 3.9 yards per carry. Everybody's excited about him, but Leonard Fournette's shit. Like, I don't understand that. I don't. And I would sit there and go, there was less support around Leonard Fournette, but yet we're excited about David. This is where I just get baffled in the NFL social media world sometimes. But
so our first disagreement here.
First
you
disagreement.
go over, I go under with the Bears. I think it's going to fall apart for them this year, which leads us to the last team in the.
Damn, I only have 10% battery power
On your computer?
Yeah,
Oh, no,
I should be okay then.
I think I'll
make it.
work. Okay,
Yeah.
we can do this. Lions here. They were 3-12-1 last year, which was, you think the Lions are like, yeah, there's the Lions for you. But the last 5 years, they've been a 7-win team, a 9-win team, a 9-win team, which is like in Detroit winning the Super Bowl. That's like hey, we did it. We have a parade when we win 9 games. Then 6 and then 3. And so last year was a down year. Matt Stafford got hurt halfway through the year. That didn't help. And it also didn't help that the defense was terrible. I mean, the defense just gave up a ton of points, ton of yards, almost the
Horrible pass defense. That can't happen again. You can't be a defensive coordinator, head coach, and have a pass defense that's
How does that
horrible.
happen? It seems like that does happen more times than not, where you got an offensive guy goes in, and all of a sudden the offense is crap, and then you got a defensive guy that goes in, and you got to be able to
They
figure
get
that
away
out.
from what got them there.
Yeah.
I've argued this for years. Like, hey, you got the job because you're an offensive genius. Hey, somebody else call the plays. Yeah, you do the offensive game planning. Wait, we're paying you $6 million a year because of what you did on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Not so you could just sit there now and 4th and 1. Go for it. Go for it. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Punt it out. Oh.
Yeah.
No, you were hired to be that. And I think that goes on way too much in the NFL. Guys like that get the job, and then they pawn it off to somebody else, and all of a sudden the thing that you were brought here to be great at, you're not great at. That makes no sense. That's not good. So, Matt Patricia, you're right. Secondary, they've tried to make some improvements. We'll see where that goes.
So the over-under for them is 6.5. So 6.5 over-under. And if they don't get that, that's probably it for Matt Patricia.
I would say so.
Total overhaul of the front office probably as well.
I want to go over with them. I want to go over for, 2 reasons.
Okay.
I liked what I saw last year before Stafford got hurt.
He was great.
Right.
He was having maybe the best year of his career.
I agreed. And then, the way the running game and Kerryon Johnson looked, but then, of course, he got hurt. So there was issues there. So there's like things I looked at last year where I went, okay, I think they're on the right track. And then there's the secondary like you talked about, and I think that's going to be improved because Desmond Trufant, they got Jeff Okudah.
Yeah.
We'll see. They haven't even named him a starter yet.
I know you're not high on Jeff Okudah, though.
I mean, and, I know he hasn't been able to practice the whole time, but again, to me, these are context clues where I want to go, well, it's starting to show he probably wasn't worth the 3rd pick of the draft already.
Yeah.
3rd picks of the draft, at corner, cover that guy, and that's slam dunk. Oh, it's day 1. You're the 3rd pick of the draft. You're starting. The fact that you're having that conversation to me is not a good look. And then
you got Jamie Collins.
Yes, big time. Danny Shelton a little bit big, some size up front. They're going to be big on the defensive side of the ball.
Got Trey Flowers from last year.
Yeah,
still,
I don't know if this is playoffs. I'm going over on the 6.5, though, because I'm going to bet Stafford stays healthy. And him with Galladay and Marvin Jones and T.J. Hawkinson, I think that's a really underrated fucking amazing trio, let alone the 2 running backs they got with Johnson and DeAndre Swift. I think the defense is better, and then the desperation factor. The desperation factor of Matt Patricia, Bob Quinn.
This is it.
And maybe even Matt Stafford.
It could be.
Right? I mean, I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, where if this is a bad year, Detroit might just go, okay, hey, Matt, you were awesome for us. You did a lot of great things, but we got to start a new regime. It just didn't work, whatever.
And I feel like they could get a lot from Matt Stafford.
Probably.
I mean, there's a lot of teams that would want to Matt Stafford.
I think there's a good chance of that. So I'm going to go over.
Okay, you go over. I'll go under.
Okay.
So that I can't lose. So either way, if they go over, I'll be happy. I'll be like, good. That was a good year. And if they go under, I'll be like, I'm happy. I beat Chris. I knew they were going to suck.
Right.
So we got the Detroit Lions there. You go over. I go under 6.5.
NFC
wins.
North is a tough division this year. I mean, I'm picking Green Bay, I guess, just because of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But I don't know necessarily if I feel like, that great about it.
NFC South could be a very tough and very competitive division this year for the first time in a while. Though we've seen the Saints and Falcons and Panthers all be good together before. Now you got to add the Bucs in there. So let's start with the Saints. You got a team that was 13-3 last year. Unfortunately, didn't go that well in the playoffs, but last 3 years win total for the Saints is 11, 13, and then 13. They got a top offense, top 5 offensive line according to Pro Football Focus. You got skilled players there. You got good guys on defense. You got a lot to like, obviously.
A lot to like
for this team. But the question is, what's the over/under number?
Let me guess what it is.
Okay.
It's got to be higher than 9-5, right? They go 10-5 with them?
They went 10-5.
Yeah.
They went 10-5. So 10-5 for the Saints, a team that hasn't won fewer than 11 games in the last 3 years.
That's about where it is for me, right there.
This is I know the division's better. The Falcons could be good. Buccaneers better. Panthers not. This is a slam dunk over for me.
I'm going over 2. I don't know if I feel slam dunk like you do, but either way, it's a playoff team. I look at it that way. And I don't, to me, the worst they could do is 9-7. Like, the worst. Wouldn't be shocked, if you're saying it was 12-4 or 13-3 again. Certainly wouldn't.
Yeah.
I guess I'm playing the law of averages of, man, it's been really good years. The division is a little bit better. Maybe they lose a game or 2 more this year. And the fact that you're playing the AFC West, the AFC West and the NFC North, the AFC West especially is what I'm looking at because I think that's a dangerous division right now. But yeah, I think you're right. And I just look at too many things on their team to go, it's top notch. I mean, it's top notch.
Added Malcolm Jenkins on the defensive side.
Right.
Pro Football Focus loves DeMario Davis. They had him as the top-ranked linebacker last year.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would say he's the top, but he's really freaking good. Yeah. I mean, he is. Him paired with, let's say, Zach Bond now, as far as their second-round pick out of Wisconsin, that excites me. The secondary, Malcolm Jenkins. You got Marshawn Lattimore. There's a lot to like there. And, of course, their defensive line, to me, is one of the most physical units in all of football. And if they can just get something from Marcus Davenport to be another big-time pass rusher, I would go, whoa, that defense could go from, being really, really good to great. Yep. And that's the only thing they're missing on that side of the ball. And you mentioned the offense. They got just about everything.
So you're going over.
I'm going over. The one thing I just say this that jumps out to me with them is weeks 8 through 16. At the Bears, at the Bucs, 49ers at home, Falcons at home, at the Broncos. We know they're going to be improved, the Broncos. At the Falcons, at the Eagles.
Yeah.
Kansas City come home.
Yeah.
Minnesota
Vikings.
Come home. And
not easy.
That's not an easy stretch. That is one tough game after another there, whether it's on the road or teams that are up and coming.
When I see stuff like that, too, and I think about a team like the Saints, if a team that has been historically bad, like the Lions has a stretch like that, I'm like, that's where it all falls apart. Because you're like, oh, here we go again.
Right.
But when you have a team like the Saints that are used to so much winning, it feels like it's harder to get into those ruts where it's just like, oh, here we lose 3, 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Just because it feels like, as a team, that's not what we do.
No.
We don't run into stretches like this.
It's battle tested. I think that's what you're talking about. They're never they're not like, oh gosh, we got to go on the road 3 weeks in a row.
Here it goes. Here's where we lose a bunch.
Yeah, right. No, they're more like.
And the game starts out and you're down 7-0. You're like, oh, here it goes again.
Yeah, they're more of we'll find a way to pull it out. And then they also know their coach is going to have a few tricks up his sleeve to pull it out too. Yeah, you're right. They've had a few stretches like this. One that'll jump out to me just to get off base for 2 seconds.
Okay.
In 2018, they had a stretch like this where I went, ooh, man, this could be Strugglesville for them a little bit. They had to go, let's see, where I got it. It was at Baltimore, at Minnesota, then the Rams. And I went oh, that'll be tough. They went 3-0.
Yeah.
And they went to Baltimore, and this is they out-Baltimored Baltimore. And that's, to me, was impressive. That's what's impressive about New Orleans. New Orleans can get in a shootout with you and throw for 400 yards and win a game, or they can go, oh, you want to play a slugfest, Baltimore? Oh, yeah, we'll put Taysom Hill back here and we'll just run it down your throat all game. We're not going to be bullied by you. And they won that game. So they have so many ways they can win games, too.
Yep.
They're very versatile that way, and the talent's good. And, I expect them to be in the upper echelon.
We saw him last year win games even without Drew
Echelons
Brees.
or echelon?
Echelon. What did you say?
Echelons.
Echelons.
I say that a lot.
Yeah. Echelon.
Yeah.
I think. Pete confirms that.
No, you're right.
And if Drew Brees goes down this year, it's not Teddy Bridgewater, but they got Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill.
Yep.
2 talented
But
quarterbacks.
it just tells you how good their team was, too. I mean, hey, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time goes down, we'll go 5-0 without him. It's amazing.
All right, so we both go over with the Saints. Now we got the Falcons, who were 7-9 last year. It doesn't really tell the story of their season. They started 1-7. They finished the year 6-2 with wins at New Orleans, at San Francisco. So it wasn't like they were cupcake wins.
No, they were not.
Some hard wins. They got a difficult schedule as well. Defensively, maybe you got some questions. Offensive line, there were serious issues last year protecting Matt Ryan.
Serious.
But 7 wins last year. Their over-under is 7.5. 7.5.
I'm going over here for sure. To me, I'm
going to go over too.
There's no doubt in my mind they get more than 7.5 if they stay healthy. That's the only thing that holds them back.
Offensive line, though, that seems like that can totally wreck you. You could have all the skill players in the world.
Yep.
But if you can't get anything from your offensive line, you're in trouble.
And to me, that's where I'm expecting an improvement from their team here this year. Those 2 first-round picks from last year, from 2019,
Lindstrom and McGarry.
Caleb McGarry, right? They both got hurt last year. That was huge. It made them reshuffle. So, I mean, injuries decimated them regardless. They are a very top-heavy team. So that's a very realistic thing for them to happen. 3-4 guys get hurt, it changes their team because they don't have the depth that some of the other good football teams have that, he's our backup, but he's not that much less than our starter. And in Atlanta, they have a lot of scenarios like that where you go, the starter's a superstar. The backup is like fringe makes the roster guy. And that's, if you get the injury bug, you're screwed. But to get Dante Fowler Jr., in free agency, take a shot on a Charles Davis as far as a pass rusher, I think that's their big thing. Is who are going to be the guys that can be real, legitimate, awesome pass rushers off the edge for that football team because it's the Seattle scheme, as we've talked about so much.
Yeah.
And it's predicated on that. So can Todd Gurley help out the offense? We know the passing game's going to be good. I mean, Ahmed, you hit it. It's going to be the O-line, and can the running game give them something? If they can do that and stay healthy, I'd say watch out for Atlanta. You said it was 7.5?
Yeah, 7.5.
Yeah, I'm definitely going over. I'm going over. And we went over with the Saints, right? Because that was 10.5, and I went barely over there. So, yeah, I'm
you're doing the calculation in your mind.
I mean, a little bit. I am a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't want to get called out by, what was his name?
Something. I messed it up.
2443.
Whatever it was, I messed
No, it wasn't
up.
Hobbit 2443.
No, it was
somebody else.
She's loyal. She would never disrespect us. Last year, Atlanta, despite the problems in the offensive line, had the 2nd most first downs per game in the NFL.
Wow.
Behind Baltimore, ahead of Dallas.
Yep.
So they moved the chains.
Behind Baltimore,
Matt
who did it
Ryan's
legitimately.
Yeah.
Dallas and Atlanta did it with a lot of we're down by 10 with 7 minutes and we got to get bullshit yards and we got to come back because we're down by 17 points. So to me,
and
that's
the
not
defense
a good.
is like, we'll give you the first down here.
Exactly.
We'll
So to me, that's a misleading stat.
That's where you stand out. You're a context guy.
Thank you.
You're a context guy.
Thank you.
And I think football is the biggest context sport, right? It's like you can't go by the numbers.
No.
Because every situation is different.
Basketball and baseball, a lot easier to do that because you have a lot of it comes down to the one guy moment. The one guy moments in football almost never happen except for maybe receiver, where it's like, it's 1 versus 1 and we threw him a ball and my guy won.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. But yeah, everything else is predicated on what you got around you.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Woo,
they got a lot of good things around them this year, as opposed to previous years. You got Tom Brady, of course. You drafted Tristan Wirfs to protect him on the offensive line, which actually wasn't too bad last year. You got great receivers. Godwin, Mike Evans, O.J. Howard, Gronk as your tight ends. Stars on defense, Shaq Barrett, and Ndamukong Suh. Man, before I started reading all that, I was pretty convinced I was going to go with the under, but then I just kind of hyped myself up right there. They were 7-9 last year. Their over-under is 9.5.
Holy shit.
9.5.
Of course it is. I'm going under.
You're going to go under.
I am.
So the Bucs have reached the 10-win plateau just 7 times in the 44 seasons. But they've never had Tom Brady.
Nope. But Chris Simms did it.
Chris Simms did it.
Chris Simms went 11-5. And Tom Brady's a lot better than Chris Simms. We know that.
But you're going to go under.
Yes. I am going to go.
Reluctantly going under.
Of course, I recognize the talent. I'm rooting for the Bucs. I mean, the Bucs after the Giants are my second favorite team, let alone I know my personal relationship with the 49ers, but I'm just saying if there was no personal relationships, it would go Giants and Bucs. I mean, those are my squads. Okay.
This is hard.
It is
because
hard.
I feel like last year I was higher on them because I thought they were a playoff team. I thought they had a playoff caliber roster last year.
I get you.
And they just turned the ball over too much.
Yep. And okay, so first off, this is where I think my first thought lays, is that I think we're doing a little bit of a disservice or not giving credit to a team.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, it does take something to gel as a team and play together. And, there's these new moving parts, and we're all together for the first time. It's not always, it's like Cleveland last year. It's just not always easy to go like, look at the names in our roster. We'll just come together on the field and kick ass. No, it doesn't always work like that. The coaches are still evaluating what they got. What's he do good? What's he do bad? Okay, we need to find the right scheme that fits what we're doing, all those things. So I think we're disrespecting that a little bit because we're caught up with the names. I do. Mm-hmm. I also think, Tom Brady, do I have question marks? I do. Is he going to make as many plays as Jameis Winston did last year? No, he's not. Is he going to make as many mistakes? No, he's not.
I was going to say,
he's
good
not.
and bad plays.
Right. Yeah. Bruce Arians is another guy, I'll just say, because I said this on the show the other day, I think he gets a little bit of a free pass sometimes. We talk about him like he's like a 3-time winning Super Bowl coach. And he's had really one legit awesome season as a head coach. So just between those things right there, it's like I just would like to see a little bit more, let alone you had a secondary that sucked last year. Yeah. Sucked.
30th against the pass in yards per game last year.
Right. So, that scares me. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm just not ready to put the stamp and go, the Bucs might get in the playoffs. I understand that. And if they went 12-4, I wouldn't be shocked either. But I can't just sit here and go, I think 12-4 is going to happen. I've never seen this team play. They got all these new parts and everything like that. And they're going to implement a new offense and, have a new tailback involved. And, hey, they're an unproven secondary. But they got Gronk and Brady. They're going 12-4. I just can't do that. I can't. Yeah. And, okay, just a few things about their schedule that jump out to me. 4 of the first 5 games, for a new offense, a quarterback learning a new offense, they got some good defenses.
At Saints, at Broncos week 3,
right.
Chargers week 4.
And Bears in week 5. These are real. Like, those are not the kind of teams you want to play where you're going, we're just getting our feet underneath us and getting used to football here. Yeah. I expect them to beat Carolina, but those other games are going to be tough as hell. So I guess that's where I'm lying.
I think they could be 9-7, which was would be a 2-win improvement from last year, and that's still the under. So I'm going to go under.
Okay, there you go.
I'm going to go under as well.
Yeah, I just can't stamp it and go, all these
10
new guys,
wins for them.
I just can't
10.
say yes to that yet. I can't. And again, if we're wrong and everything, we'll say it. We know it. I see the potential. I understand what's to get excited about. Mm-hmm. I just think we can't disrespect some of the things we've talked about as far as team is concerned.
Are there things to get excited about with the Carolina Panthers? Christian McCaffrey, that's kind of exciting. Matt Rule, his first year.
Sure.
That's exciting.
DJ Moore excites me.
DJ Moore is exciting.
He's a guy I chickened out and probably should have put in my top 10 list as far as receivers. I chickened out. I'm mad I didn't put him on there.
Okay. Defense gets other teams excited, perhaps. In the NFL, they had the worst rush yards per play last year. They were mid-pack against the pass, so... but they've had some guys go on the defensive side, too. Luke Kuechly gone, James Bradbury gone, Mario Addison, Gerald McCoy, Vernon Butler, Greg Olsen on the offensive side. So that's a lot of departures for a lot of names that have helped them in the past.
It's a rebuild.
So it's a rebuild. They had 5 wins last year. They're 5.5 this year. Ooh. So in light of what you just said, I'm going to say under. Because I think it is. It's a total rebuild.
It is.
And if they were 4-12, I think that'd be a good year.
I'm going under too. No, I'm with you though. I'm going under. I think you're right. I mean, if they're 4-12 and a pain in the ass and in a bunch of handful of games, 4-12 is not that bad. They've changed their team over. I give them a lot of credit. They went totally defense and young in the draft.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a lot of young, inexperienced, learning life in the NFL, and they're going to be dependent on them week 1. Like, hey, you got to play. Like, you got to play, and you got to play good. And with college guys, too, it's always a hard adjustment because they're like, wait, if I don't win my battle every play, the play stinks. In college, you got away with that where you're like, oh, I didn't block the guy, but it didn't matter. We still got yards. In the NFL, like, you make a mistake, the other team succeeds. That's the way it is. Like, there's no plays off in the NFL. So, all of those things are going to be reality that they're not used to. New coaches, new offensive system. I like their offense and some of, like, the weapons, like you just McCaffrey,
Sure.
DJ Moore. Hey, Teddy Bridgewater, I'm excited to see what he can do. Robbie Anderson, getting him in free agency from the Jets. And then Curtis Samuel, who I like too. I mean, they have 3 guys there that can go. Like, if you want to press, bump, man-to-man that group, see ya. Teddy's going to throw it over their head, and they're going to run away from people. But I'm with you. I can't go any more than that. And my big thing, too, that I took away from anything here was out of the first 10 games of the year, the Cardinals were the only team I could look at to go, they might be better than them.
Oof.
I'm not going to say they're better than the Raiders, the Bucks, the Chargers, the Falcons, the Bears, the Saints, the Falcons, the Chiefs, or the Bucks again.
Yeah.
So they're the underdogs the first 10 weeks of the year. At least in my money they are.
Yeah.
So that's where I look at it and go, yeah, they might be a pain in the butt and play some close games there, but ultimately, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a 4-12, 3-13 type year.
So I got a prop bet to throw at you here.
Okay.
Only player with more receptions than Christian McCaffrey last year was Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
So Michael Thomas had 149. Christian McCaffrey had 116.
Right, yeah.
So how many players will have more catches than McCaffrey this year? Right behind him were Keenan Allen had 104.
Oh, you're just saying how many players in
how many
general.
players will out-catch McCaffrey?
Right.
Michael Thomas, I feel confident in saying he probably will again if he stays healthy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm cool with that.
But then you got Keenan, you got Hopkins, who was behind McCaffrey, you got Edelman, Julio had 99 last year, Allen Robinson, Travis Kelce. So those were all the guys knocking at the doors of, or knocking at the heels of Christian McCaffrey.
The only guys that jump to me where I go, ooh, watch out for them. They could maybe challenge this year. And I expect McCaffrey to be number 2, but the next guy's on the list, Keenan Allen and DeAndre Hopkins. And I don't actually, the more I think about it, I'll say Keenan Allen, no, because I think they're going to be a different offense there this year, where they're going to be a little more run-centric. So I'm going to say his totals come down. I guess with Hopkins is the one I look at to go, I expect they're going to pay him at some point.
Yeah,
we
brand
know,
new toy.
Brand new
Kyler
toy.
Murray.
And so he's the guy I look at to go, all right, maybe he challenges McCaffrey this year for second in receptions.
One more division left, over-unders. I think we're keeping this pretty even so far. We've been good. Pete is keeping us in check, but you've heard the reasons for all of them. We can't help our reasons, right? If we feel like a team is under, we're going to go under.
I'm down to
regardless of what we
3% on
think.
my computer. You
Okay,
think I'm going to make it?
Yes, we'll go.
You think so?
49ers.
Okay.
They were 13-3 last year.
Yeah.
Which we just consider them as like this elite squad right now, and they've been like that for a while. I mean, that was their first year in a long time.
Right.
You go back to 2014, here are their win totals: 8, 5, 2, 6, 4, and then 13.
Yeah.
So it was really much more unusual what they did last year. Over under 10.5. So 13 wins last year, over under 10.5 this year.
Yeah. Well, I'm going over. I'm going
well,
over.
You have to, because you're like Kyle.
Yeah. I don't have to do shit, all right? But no, I wrote out of my like 3 prediction models, right, that I've told you I've done here. The 10-6 was the worst I got, really, where I went 11-5 and 12-4 were my first 2 schedule run-throughs when I did it with them.
Yeah.
All right, so I look at that. Okay, all right, so here's a few things that jump out to me. They are a little banged up right now. That scares me a little.
Wide receiver is a kind of a mystery.
Yeah, it's scary right now. But they, I know yesterday they said they were thinking they were going to have Richie James and Deebo Samuel maybe back by week 1. It was looking good. We'll see where Brandon Ayuk is and all of that. But they got Kittle and Kendrick Bourne and all that. And Shanahan is the f***ing master at getting receivers open. So I think that's one area. If they're a little less than, it won't kill their team because he's still going to get people open. Very rare that a team that goes to the Super Bowl really doesn't lose people via free agency or get pillaged by the rest of football.
A little turnover, traded DeForest Buckner, but then got Javon Kinlaw in the draft.
Like what? Like you went to the Super Bowl and you got 2 first-round picks and signed a first-ballot Hall of Fame left tackle?
Yeah.
Like what? That's where it's crazy to me. And then, okay, you went to the Super Bowl and you really only lost 1 guy? Just 1? That's pretty amazing. So I think when I look at it from that aspect, I just go, man, the 49ers, it's the rare, team went to the Super Bowl and team's going to come back a little bit better, I think, in a lot of ways. I do. And that is the fact it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo's finally second season in the system. You know, a lot of these guys, there's a lot of young contributors to that football team last year. So I just look at that. You know, of course, I have great faith in my friend Kyle Shanahan. You know that. But I think the other thing that makes me feel confident, because you always worry about Super Bowl hangover, Cardinals, Jets, Giants, Eagles, Dolphins to start the year.
Yeah.
They're better than all 5 teams. Now, I know it's the Eagles. Like, listen, that'll be a little closer, certainly as far as talent and everything like that. But I have no problem sitting here right now and going, no, the 49ers are better than the Cardinals, the Giants, the Jets, and the Dolphins. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt about it. I'm not even going to think about it or anything. So I look at it from that and just go, man, the first 5 weeks, I mean, I almost look the worst case scenario is 4-1. To where, okay, even if you're not playing your you could still be 4-1 or maybe 3-2. They do have a tough stretch, you know.
Middle of that schedule looks a little tough.
7 through 13, right?
Yep.
When you look at the Patriots, at the Seahawks, Green Bay coming to town, at the New Orleans Saints, at the Los Angeles Rams, Buffalo Bills, that's a legit stretch right there. So, you know, that'll tell a lot as far as where I think their playoff seeding goes and things like that. But yeah, I'm going with the over here.
Real quick, prop bet. They had 3 different running backs go over 500 yards last season. That was Mostert, Breida, Tevin Coleman. How many did they get this year? 2. They got Mostert, Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon.
I know. McKinnon's the one that's scary, right? But I think Tevin Coleman and Mostert, I think Mostert will be 1, Tevin Coleman will be 1A, and I think McKinnon will be the pass game specialist.
Okay.
And I don't know that, but I just know that's where their skill set is, and I know when they signed McKinnon, that's what Shanahan was very excited about, was McKinnon's ability. You know, again, Shanahan played for John, you know, he coached for John Gruden. You know, that's Sean Payton's scheme. He's been wanting that running back to come out of the backfield and be that Alvin Kamara type guy. He hasn't had that. So I think that's going to be another part of their offense to look out for, too.
Seattle Seahawks. Yeah. Can they compete in this division? 11 wins last year. Have had fewer than 10 wins just once since 2012. So they've been consistently good for so long now. However, last year, and Pete notes here, they were 10-2 in games decided by 8 points or fewer. So it wasn't like they were blowing a bunch of teams out.
No.
A lot of these were very tight wins. So 11 wins last year. They're over under 9.5.
Yeah. Wow, 9.5.
9.5.
Yeah, I'm going over all the way here. I wouldn't be shocked if Seattle won the division this year. And, you know, they're the 1, 2, or 3 seed. And, you know, the 49ers are the 4 or 5 or 6 seed or 7 seed, whatever it is. I wouldn't be shocked. I think the thing that would stop me from that a little bit is, you know, as far as their defense, I like some of the signings and draft picks they have this offseason. You know, like Quentin Dunbar, that I think he really fits their scheme. Jamal Adams, of course, that trade and what they did there. You know, the drafting of the kid from Tennessee, Darrell Taylor, Jordan Brooks at linebacker.
Yeah.
Like, they did some there. I do think they're still missing, like, an unproven big-time commodity on the front as a pass rusher.
Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney would help.
Right. You know, does Bruce Irving show up to be that guy? Does their first-round pick from 2 years ago, L.J. Collier, can he be that guy? There's a lot of bad mofos on that defensive line. I'm just not sure if there's that one guy where I go, oh, he's that mismatch nightmare for them. And I think that's where they're missing it a little bit. But, you know, I think the offense takes the next step up.
Yeah, I mean, the point you make about defense, though, even last year, they had the worst yards per play in the NFC last year. You don't normally think of Seattle as being built that way, and
they won
in spite of that.
That's what I mean, that's one of the things that jumped out to me about last year's schedule was I went, damn, they struggled against every good offense they played last year. Every good one. You know, did they win some of those games here and there? Yeah. But, you know, I just look at their losses, the Saints, the Ravens, the Rams, the 49ers, the Cardinals at the end of the year when they got it going. They won an overtime game against the Bucs where they were down big time. Like, you know, the Browns, they couldn't stop the Browns either. Baker Mayfield just made some dumb mistakes where anytime a team had a decent scheme and some talent, Seattle's defense struggled. So that still worries me. But But yeah, I'm definitely going to go over. It was 9.5.
9.5.
Yep. First 3 games not easy though. That's the one thing I'll say about them. But they're the ultimate battle-tested, never give up. Like you said, I've never seen anything like them. They're amazing that way.
I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna go under with the Seahawks.
Yeah, you're not feeling the D. You're worried
I'm
about
not
it.
feeling the defense.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Jamal Adams obviously will help, and Russell Wilson was so good. But how many years can he continue to do that? And will the offensive line play help him out at all next year?
I think those are all real questions. I know. And I think a lot of it will be, Falcons week 1 in Atlanta. Dan Quinn knows their team, knows that scheme, right? I mean, there's going to be great familiarity. Those are always scary games. And then they got the Patriots and Cowboys coming into town.
Sure.
I mean, that'll be interesting.
What % are you at right now?
1.
On your computer. Okay. The Rams, 9-7 last year. Here's who they lost. They lost Dante Fowler, Clay Matthews, Eric Weddle, Corey Littleton, Todd Gurley, Brandon Cooks, Greg Zuerlein. The betting market has been hitting the under on the Rams heavily. You know what I'm going to do? Fade the betting market. I'm going to go over because for one reason only.
Right.
And this might not be a good reason. 9 wins last year despite not a good offensive line, despite the worst red zone defense in the NFC last year. They had some issues last year, and I think I believe in Sean McVay, that he can develop as a head coach here. You mentioned the things last year that they got a little predictable at times.
Yeah, definitely. Got to reinvent himself a little bit.
Can he do that?
I think he definitely can do that.
I think he can.
Yeah.
And so their over-under is 8.5.
Oof.
I'm going to go the over. They had 9 wins last year, in a year where a lot of things went wrong.
It was.
But they did lose a lot of players.
Gosh. Yeah, I mean, I wrote down 9-7, 8-8, 10-6. Like 10-6 being the best one. 9-7 was, I mean, they're right there in that range. I do think people, to what you're saying, are sleeping on the Rams a little bit.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, first off, hey, it hurts they lost Corey Littleton. I get that and everything. Who else? Any other big names in free agency they lost there? Like Clay Matthews, I'm not going to sit here and go, no, they're changed. Was any other big names? I know they
Brandon Cooks.
Gurley's got, Cooks. Hey, Cooks, certainly a good player, but now that Cooper Kupp's back healthy, with Robert Woods, and then Van Jefferson in the draft, who's a really polished NFL-ready receiver.
Who's going to be the Robin to Aaron Donald's Batman?
Yeah, that's
on the defensive
side.
Well,
I'm glad you said that. To me, this is where I think people are sleeping on them a little bit. When you talk about Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers, A'Shawn Robinson, who I think is one of the big, bad, scary dudes in football, an interior D-line that nobody knows about, and then Leonard Floyd on the edge, I go, damn, they're going to be able to create some havoc. I know Leonard Floyd didn't live up to his top 10 billing and all that with sacks and all that. He's still a really awesome, good football player. They didn't sign him to a 1-year, $10 million fully guaranteed contract because they thought he was shit, right? So, and I expect the offensive line to be better. But I think the defensive front can really create some havoc on some people. And, of course, their secondary, Jalen Ramsey's a difference maker, and the rest of the secondary is pretty damn good too, to where I think it's, not household names, but there's talent there.
Yeah. So you are going to go over.
Damn, I think I am. I think
right. You can copy me. That's okay.
I'm copying you. Where I worry about them a little bit is 2 different stretches.
Okay.
First 3 weeks. Like, if you're still trying to figure out, like, what we're talking about, we got a new plan of attack on offense.
Cowboys at Eagles at Bills.
Right.
No fans, though, in Buffalo.
No defensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, all of those things. But, damn, that's Dallas, and then on the road to the East Coast 2 weeks in a row against, pretty 2 good physical football teams. And then the other stretch I just look at is weeks 10 through 12, where I go Seattle Seahawks at Buccaneers, and then the 49ers.
Sure.
They got the Cardinals sandwiched in between the Patriots. Those will be real stretches there. But
in McVay, we trust.
I tend to want to think they're going to be better than people.
Think so too.
I don't know if it means they make the playoffs. What was the record at? 8-5? 8-5?
8.5.
8.5.
They were 9-7.
I could see them going 9-7 and not making the playoffs. I could see them maybe winning a game or two that we don't expect, and them going 10-6.
Yeah.
And I could also see them going 8-8. I mean, that's about where I think they are.
Final team,
Yep.
the Arizona Cardinals. Where are they? They were 5-10-1 last year. Patrick Peterson, here's his quote. You ready?
Yeah.
We have everything you need. If you're trying to build a championship caliber team, we have the players, and I believe this is the type of roster. So he believes in what they have. Kyler Murray, second year, 7.5 is the over-under for the Cardinals. They had 5 wins last year. Vegas is setting the line at 2.5 wins above that. That's pretty healthy.
It is. I'm going under, though.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say that. Dang it. So now I'm copying you. As much as I believe in Kyler Murray, and I think they could be better, but I don't think they'll be 2.5 wins better or 3 wins better.
I don't know if I'm ready for that yet either. I think it's an organization and everything's pointing up, like with a green arrow, and we're excited and I'm excited. There's a lot to be excited about.
DeAndre Hopkins, you got a stud number 1 receiver.
Some other young receivers that are exciting. Kenyon Drake back there in the backfield, and Murray, and that's going to be fun. And hey, just signing Buda Baker, Byron Murphy in year 2. My computer died, by the way.
Oh, you're going off the top of your head
I
here.
am. Simmons, as far as first
Isaiah
round
Simmons,
pick, right?
yep.
That's going to change their defense a
Still
little
got
bit.
Chandler Jones.
Still,
you got Patrick Peterson.
Right. I guess interior D-line and O-line, to me, are going to be a little bit of the issues I'm worried about for their football team. I think that's where I look at it. And then, cover corners. That was an issue, too. Patrick Peterson. I don't know what to think about him anymore. I'm sorry.
It was a down year last year.
Yeah, coming off of PEDs, so I question whether he was doing PEDs for the last 4 or 5 years. I don't know what to think. So we'll see where that goes. I think that's the question marks to me, too. And let alone they're in a really tough division, and they're really in a second year of almost a rebuild here.
Yeah.
So I hope people don't expect too much from this team. I like Cliff Kingsbury, and I'm with you. I mean, Kyler Murray, I think it's going to be special. But I wrote 6-10, 7-9, 8-8, and then I even wrote, man, they could go 5-11 if it went, the wrong way. But the one thing is, let's throw up the schedule, Kristen, if you don't mind, just to look at it, because I thought they have at least a chance to get off to a decent start. They're not going to beat the 49ers, I don't think, but Washington, Lions, Panthers, Jets, right?
Jets, wow.
Yeah, right? They could be sitting there after 4 or 5 weeks and us going
3-2.
They're 3-2. Maybe some miracle they're 4-1.
Right.
Right. So I do think there's a chance there for them to gain some early confidence and maybe beat that team. But I could also see them going 4-1 and then losing to the Cowboys, losing to the Seahawks, beating the Dolphins, losing to the Bills, losing to the Seahawks, losing to the Patriots, losing to the Rams, beating the Giants, losing the Eagles, losing the 49ers, losing the Rams. I can see that year, we all get excited about them early in the year. We're like, oh, they're 3-2, they're 4-1. Wait, they've lost 8 in a row now, guys. What are they going to do? I can see that totally being a realistic scenario.
So you went over on 9 bets. You went under on 7.
A little
Feel
closer
good about
today.
that. A little closer today.
Right. And I challenge our guy's math. He doesn't know how much we went over or under.
Or under, right?
I don't know.
We could have undefeated teams and totally defeated teams.
Right. But now that guy's got me totally gun-shy to want to pick true wins next week for when we pick division winners and go through all that.
You're going to have too many playoff teams, aren't you? We're going to get done. You're going to have you got 5 extra playoff teams.
10-6 teams. That doesn't make sense.
Okay, so before we go, who are we disagreed on 3. We disagreed on the Bears, Lions, and Seahawks. Who are our best bets?
Oh, okay. Yep. Let's look at this.
So I'm going to give you mine right away.
Right.
Mine are Saints over was my best bet.
Saints, yeah.
Saints over. I was very confident with that one. And where was my other one? And Bears under. I'm going to go Bears under.
Ooh.
I'm super confident about Bears under. I think they're being overhyped.
Yep.
And Saints over.
Okay, I think I'm with you on the Saints over. I'm going to join that party there.
Okay.
All right. And then the next one I think I like is the Falcons. 7.5, I just think is too low. Desperation year for everything. To me.
You think they're more like the team that ended the year than began the year last year?
I do. And I'm going to play they avoid the injury bug this year. The last 2 years it's gotten the best of them. I think this year they'll avoid it. So, okay. So, that's going to be the 2 that jump out to me. I don't know. I know we trust in McVay, but I don't like that
Yeah, I say that, but I don't want to make that my best bet.
I don't want to make that my best bet either. Any other ones you thought we sounded like bullish or bearish on?
I don't know. We talk about them so much that I sometimes think both ways could win.
Yeah.
I go, I can see how it could be right, and I can see how it could be wrong with that. But that's why Vegas puts the numbers where they put them.
Yeah.
Makes it super difficult. But like you mentioned before, it seems like this year there are just so many teams that you can see a way that they could be, if not a playoff team, pretty darn close to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think my dad said it on the podcast last week where he couldn't get over looking at the teams and going, man, there just seems like there's a lot of good players on every football team.
Yeah.
It does seem that way. Hey, this is NFL football. That's why I'm excited about it. The difference between the best team in football and one of the 5 worst teams in football is like a handful of plays and just 2 or 3 players.
Right.
That's how close it is at this level, and that's what makes it awesome. So, what'd you say, Pete?
Pete says, and injuries. But
injuries,
he doesn't
exactly
know.
right.
We've turned them off. It's like Madden. We turned off injuries, and so
They
we're not
don't
going to
even
have them
exist.
this year. All right.
Hello, Red Mask Man.
That's it. That's it. We did it.
We did it.
I feel like that was a long one.
We thought we might
through
have
a
had
lot.
Roger Goodell walk behind us at some point during the show.
We kept going longer, hoping that would
because he's
happen.
in the building today.
He is.
And
are you going to go try to find him?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But I really want him to come by because I would have heckled him and had fun with him.
Well, let's keep it going for another 15 minutes and see if he walks by.
And Florio calls
here.
me his evil twin anyways, so which we've told Roger that story before, and he got a chuckle out of that. But that's it.
That's it. Next week.
Man. Next week is football time. Tuesday. Next week, because it's Labor Day Monday. Tuesday, we will come back with playoffs. Playoff cheat sheet. You'll have the answer key. I'll lay it out for you, okay? Then I believe our other podcast next week will be Friday. You're not invited.
I'm not. That's where you do the picks.
It'll be me and Mike Florio.
I've done my picks here.
It'll be me and Mike Florio, though, on Friday. But that's what to look forward to next week, and we'll get the season schedule laid out here for everybody because I'm going to start doing my deep dives and film crap and all that. I'm excited to do all of that. So, Ahmed, you the man. You have fun
Peace
today?
out. It was good.
All right. Over-unders were good. I think
we're good.
All right. I'm going to dominate you.
Mathematically works out.
All right. Peace out. Hope everybody's good. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Be safe.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.